Hi there. So there are two videos that I've been wanting to do, and we're going to start with this one. And it's about a perspective change, a shift in perspective. And I think, everyone's perspective is unique and meant for them. And sometimes we can adopt a perspective that's very disempowering to us. And so we're looking at the world through this lens of disempowerment. And because that's something that I've experienced and lived in for many years, I understand that it also perpetuates suffering in many cases. So suffering is important sometimes in this journey, I realized, I'm not saying that no one should ever suffer or whatever, because I think suffering has definitely been the thing to awaken me, to push me, to make me grow. But there's definitely this understanding and knowledge that I've gained that made me realize, if I had known this, I could have made it through my suffering a lot sooner and maybe not suffered so many cycles of the same thing. And none of it's wrong. Everything that I had gone through was what I needed to go through. And on Earth, the density at the time that I was going through it didn't allow me access to this information. But here, enough of us have found our way that we can share what we did to get here and what understandings we came to help move ourselves out of that filtered view of feeling disempowered. So that's what I'm doing here. It's not to discredit your own perspective, your own experience. It's to help empower others by sharing my own story of empowerment and the things that I realized throughout my journey. And it doesn't mean that your journey is exactly the same. You should always go inward and feel what's right to you. It really is true that our body is our navigation system. There's all these sensors and things that we should be paying attention to. And when it feels good, then we know we're on track and we're in the flow. And when it doesn't feel good, it's something to pay attention to, something to learn. There's a misunderstanding to sort out, right? So, yeah, I just wanted to talk about the shift in perspective that really has helped me stay on track and out of suffering. And that is that I started to use the idea of mirrors. It was years ago, and it took me a while to be on board with this full time, that this could be always my perspective, because I would fall unconscious lots and lots of times throughout this process. But I got to a point where I could always have in my consciousness the realization that something, whatever I was seeing out there in somebody else, was showing me something about me. And since we can't control other people, that's very valuable. It's very valuable for me to take my focus back into myself and take all my power back into myself instead of feeling powerless over the fact that I don't like what somebody else is doing, because we can't change other people. That's not where our power is. We don't have control there. Now, some people have learned to manipulate people, and that is actually a disempowered state for both people. They just don't realize it yet. So we're coming into our power, all of us, and what has helped me do that is to realize that, even if somebody hurts me, even if somebody actually comes towards me in an abusive manner and asserts something toward me that is harmful, whether it be manipulation or physical force or harsh words or betrayal or talking behind my back or just harboring jealousy or envy or whatever it may be that somebody else is feeling that is affecting me, I take that as our souls have agreed for them to show me something in me that can be healed. Because once I'm healed, those things aren't going to disempower me. I can feel pain over them. I can feel sad. I can mourn my losses. I can grieve. I can go through all of those 7 stages of grief and mourning. I can dislike something, right? But I don't lose my power through doing that because I allow those feelings for myself. You know, I say, it's okay that I feel this way. This is how I feel. I accept how I feel. And that way, that feeling doesn't get stuck or lodged or have to be experienced and processed again later. If I take control of my own experience by welcoming in my emotion as a part of me, as something I accept, as something I'm allowed to feel, then I don't get stuck in loops of suffering, right? Pain, it's temporary. Like, that feeling is temporary. As humans, we are changeable. We are always growing and evolving. It's the nature of any cell. It's growing, evolving, or dying. You know, and so when we hold on to things and we don't let ourselves process through them, or we project them onto others and we just only see it in them, that's equivalent to letting our cell die. You know? So by using my experiences in this way, I'm saying, like, you know, so and so comes along and, like, maybe they're like, they don't like me for some reason, they feel jealous, or they want to, like, knock me down a few pegs, right? So they start whispering to their friends about me, telling, you know, things that they've heard, or making things up, or whatever it is, but basically, like, dirtying my reputation, trying to make others think bad of me too. And it's harmful because, well, first of all, it's a karma that they're going to have to experience, right? It's going to need to be resolved for them in their own experience. So what you do to others will be done to you. It may not be by that same person, it may not be at that same time, it may be in another lifetime, but the universe will balance things out. You will have to experience what you perpetuate onto others, and what energy you perpetuate at all is your energy. And so when you break the cycle of something like that, so say that's happening, right? And I feel hurt by it. I feel really sad. I feel like I've been wrongly accused. I feel like the energetic burden of several people's judgment coming toward me now, because that is a real thing. Energy is real. Thoughts are real. Feelings are real, and they hold energy. And when you're sensitive to energy, like I am, and like many of us are, and like many of us are becoming more and more so, you can feel that burden. You can feel when someone doesn't like you. You know that. You know it because it's an energy that they are harboring and holding. And some people can hide it better than others. Some people it's more deep in there, and some people don't even have to hide it, and you'll miss it because of your own programming, right? But it is real. It is energy. And so say you feel sad against that, right? You're just like, this isn't fair. Like, well, it's showing you a part in you that feels sad and hurt over being mistreated, over being unfairly judged, right? So that part in me, when that happens, that part in me needs my love. Needs to be acknowledged. Oh, I understand. I'm talking to myself now. I understand you feel sad. That is really sad. Validate why it feels sad. Oh yeah, it's not really fair, and like there's this energetic burden, and like, and you didn't even do anything to these people, and you weren't judging them or anything like that. It was just like totally hurtful what this person was perpetuating against you. And so it's like you validate why you feel that way. It makes sense to feel sad when that happens, right? Accept that you feel that way. I feel sad, and this happened to me. This happened to me, and I feel sad. All these people are judging me and holding their judgments because of this person telling them, and they fed into it, and I can't do anything about it because I can't control other people. That's the reality. I accept it. Even if I don't like it, I accept that that's the reality. Okay, the reason why this is very important is because if we can't accept it, it's going to perpetuate in our own energy body until we can accept it. So it's going to happen again, or we'll start doing it to somebody else. But it's going to keep happening until one person becomes conscious of it in themselves, to solve it and accept it in themselves. And then I go another step and I give love to myself. The part of me that hurts, that feels sad and devastated and betrayed that others were holding this grudge and speaking in this way and judging, I love her. I give her love as if she's my child, as if she's a very important part of me, as if her feelings matter, And this fills up the space where that was even happening. That's a boo-boo now that has been healed and loved in me, right? And now with myself tended to, cared for, and loved, I'm a whole being with all the parts of me that love me, right? And now say that happens again. Say that that person does it with another group of people and tries to tell them all kinds of things about me again, right? Well, this time, I've already healed and loved the part of me that felt sad that happened. She accepts that that is a reality that could happen, right? It's unlikely that it'll keep happening to her. Usually those people will have to find somebody else, but say it did, right? Say it was just like leaving my energy body and it was going to just happen one more time so I could see that it was really solid in me that I still had my own back when that happens. Now I understand that this person is doing this for their own purposes because it really has nothing to do with me, right? I'm lovable. I loved myself. That's how I know I'm lovable, because I loved myself. I loved the part of me that felt hurt and pain in those circumstances. Now I have compassion for that person. Now I say, oh, before I healed it in myself, before I loved myself, I did that too. Or I understand that there's just some sort of miscommunication or confusion that you have, or I understand that you're not able to process your own emotion and love yourself, so you're looking for another place to put that pain that you have. Like, it's compassion, so it's a lot higher vibration than where that person is if they're perpetuating that kind of behavior. So it's rising above it, It's add love to rise above. I added love to myself. I've risen above the situation, and now I can add love to that situation because I'm not going to perpetuate it. I'm not feeling hurt. I have understanding, which is love. I have compassion, which is love. And it doesn't mean I have to keep that person in my life or tell them anything at all. It just means that I'm holding them in my mind as a person who can work through that if they want to, when they're ready. I'm not starting a war with telling them who they are and what they're doing wrong and pointing fingers and shaming and blaming or defending myself. Byron Katie has this thing she said about defense is the first act of war. That really stuck with me, and it's true, right? If someone offends you, they've offended you. It's not a war until you defend yourself. Then it's a war, because now you're not in compassion and you're perpetuating this energy back and forth. You're pushing it back to them, they're pushing it back to you. Here's war. And look at all the attention and energy that's going to that war that could be used for other things, for creative acts, for adding love, for nurturing self, for loving self, for creating, for working towards goals. You see, it's just this distraction. War is a distraction and it never ends. It's just a perpetuation. So by taking our power back, by withdrawing from that situation our own participation and replacing it with our own self-love, we're actually alchemizing our experience on Earth. We're transmuting energy. We're raising the vibration of ourselves, which, yes, may cause other people to send some of those things our way, but it won't matter anymore. Now we don't drown or hurt or become bogged down by that experience. Now we have compassion for the one who does that. We understand why they're doing that and that it has nothing to do with us, right? We become an example of what it is to alchemize, to rise above, to be higher than. And if you think about it, if everybody starts doing this, and everybody withdraws their finger pointing and blaming and shaming, long enough to tend to their own wounds, end the war, and become the example of what it is to love yourself, as more and more examples exist, more and more people will see that's an option. You know, they're in their heart, they don't want to perpetuate war. They just don't want to feel the pain they're feeling. So they put it on someone else. That is what we have done to cope with a very uncomfortable situation of not being allowed to feel and process the emotion we feel. It's okay to feel what we feel. The trick is to know that it's we who feel it, and we don't have to find a placeholder for it, even if it's a very painful thing. It can be our feeling, and we can love ourselves through it. And that's our power. That's becoming empowered. That is using our power to stay empowered. That is collecting our power back. That is being an example of power. You know, and power is only needed to manage our own selves, to control our own selves, to redirect our own selves, to love our own selves. We don't need to use our power to perpetuate something against another. And as we have more and more examples of people who are taking back their power and not projecting and not creating the war, then more and more people can see that as a choice. And they have to make the choice for themselves. Yes, I understand there are a lot of people out here spreading information, maybe even putting pressure on people, maybe even using some shame tactics, even in the spiritual world. But actually being that shining example, while sharing our own experiences, might hit people in a different way, right? Like we might actually draw in somebody who's actually interested or ready to make the shift instead of pushing them to push back. Now, that's not wrong either. I'm not actually dogging on that, or why do I always use that word dogging on? I don't want to use the word dogging on, because dog is not a bad thing. Dog is so beautiful. But like, what I mean is, you know, I'm not saying that it's wrong, the people who are pressuring others to change. I'm not saying that's wrong at all, because some people do need to see themselves in that war before they go, wait, this is not what I want to do, right? They have to see all that drama and that, like, that energy amplified, right? And some people need the empathy. Some people want empathy so that the feeling gets amplified, so that they can't ignore it anymore. It's right in their face, you know? So all of this stuff is very, very important, and I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying that anyone else is doing anything wrong. I'm just sharing my experience so that, you know, others know that there is a choice to do it this other way too, that you don't have to perpetuate, you don't have to blame, shame, you don't have to influence others by telling them what to do. You just do it. You just do it for yourself, and you create an example and an option for somebody else to do it if they so choose. And I feel like the more of us that are choosing this, the more of us that do this for ourselves, the more obvious it will be for others that they don't need to be in that fight anymore, that they can have all their power back. Okay? So I guess this video is about the perpetuation of shame and blame, and how to avoid feeling disempowered in the face of abuse. Yeah, how to avoid feeling disempowered in the face of abuse is, I think, what we'll call this. Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you for spending it with me. I appreciate it very much. I enjoy talking about these topics. I enjoy hearing myself speak and watching myself, I suppose. Why else would I do this? No, really, I enjoy seeing people be empowered too. I enjoy interacting with people who are feeling empowered, who know themselves, you know, who have taken the time to love themselves in all the places that hurt, and who know that that's an option. I really enjoy that. So